And I believe many of us will be blessed to learn a lot about her life, what she does, and her experience. The theme of today is the impact of women peace builder in English-speaking conflict-torn Cameroon. Again, our theme of today is the impact of women peace building in English-speaking conflict-torn Cameroon.
Okay.
Our beautiful guest today is called Adamba. Adamba Muyang is an educationalist, peace and human rights activist, a woman and youth leader. She's a dedicated humanitarian, a feminist, a community developer with 12 years of experience in women and girls leadership and community. Ada is also a dynamic teacher of history and citizenship with 19 years of experience. Furthermore, Ada is a recognized human rights expert and peace leader who has been very instrumental in advocating for peace and security issues in Cameroon. She's currently leading the Women Peace Builder Network, WOPEN, in the Northwest region of Cameroon. She is the executive director and founder of Mother of Hope Cameroon, a non-governmental organization advocating for the women and youth rights, sexual and reproductive health rights, peace education, and fight against gender-based violence in school and community. Ada is also a graduate from the International Relations Institute of Cameroon, where she obtained a master in humanitarian and developmental studies. She's a global change leader and fellow from the Cody Institute, Canada, ILVP Alumni USA, and the International Leaders Program, ILP, from the UK. She's a member of the Women Mediator across the Commonwealth, WMC. Furthermore, Ada is also a member of the Masha Alumni Israel, where she was trained as an expert on violence against women and children. She is also an Equitas Alumni Canada, where she has been trained as a human rights educator. She has been recognized by Plan International Cameroon for the Best Initiative for Girls Award by the British High Commission Cameroon as an agent of change of the Cameroon Women's Scholarship. Adamba, again, welcome. We are very glad to have you with us. And thank you so much for making time out of your very busy schedule to be with us. We've heard about your great biography, very, very impressive, Ada. And especially for an African woman, giving our cultural setting and the society setting, sometimes it can be hard for women to really be able to be who they are and to evolve as a great leader. And you are truly an example of showing that it's possible. Though I've given you a biography, Ada, we'd like to hear more from you. Please introduce yourself. Tell us which kind of leader you are. We want to know everything about Ada. Please introduce yourself. And again, welcome among us.
Thank you, Mercy. I think I'm flattered and I'm so impressed the way you put the bow. It's lots of work and lots of commitment in terms of engaging as a woman and also as a wife from my angle. It's not been an easy thing, but what I want to stand today to tell women is that we don't relent no matter the situations where we find ourselves, because deep down in us, there is a lot of potentials that we have, and we need to keep striving to see that we make the change that the world needs from us. It's 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 not been an easy ride, but it's been so good engaging as a humanitarian and seeking solutions to help vulnerable women and young people. I think I'm passionate about gender issues. I'm passionate about seeing to it that women have a place on the table and not on the menu any longer. I'm passionate about seeing many young people have mentors and they can be able to change the future generation with what we leave at the back or what we leave for them to take as stepping stone to make a better world that we want to live in. I will say I am a mother of three. I'm married, two girls and one boy. And my first daughter is in university. She's 19. The second is 13, and the last is 11. And I live with my husband. Despite all the challenges, it's not been a bed of roses. But again, I want to encourage every woman there that it's important for us to keep forging with the children. We move with them and we have to work with them and also to transfer what we're learning onto the children. I'm a teacher by profession and I love coaching young people. I love seeing them have a change in their attitudes and also finding the space that they need at the right time. As a young girl growing, I didn't have that opportunity because I happened to have lost my daddy when I was 6. And so I was groomed by a single mother who actually had to put in lots of effort to send me to school and my 4 siblings. We are 5 in number, and it's been very challenging to be first out of 5. And when we lost our daddy, everything was taken from us. The culture and traditional rights that women go through when they lose their husbands actually pushed me into advocating for women and finding more space, especially for those who were affected by gender-based violence. And with that, I told myself I was going to talk and work for women who didn't have the opportunity to fight for their rights. Because my mother had to go through lots of pain to send me to school and again to see my siblings to school. We didn't have anything to do because they said we were female, we're 4, we were women, and women have no right to go to school. And so nobody saw us through school except our mother. So I now decided to add my voice when I got to college. I started talking about issues concerning discrimination against young girls in schools. And then I moved on to university where I wanted to be able to also add my voice and to make sure that the women could also, or the young girls at my age could also have a space. And then later on, when I graduated from the Teachers Training College, I told myself I was going to continue school despite all the hurdles. At the time when you say you want to go to school, that is when your husband will say he wants to have his children. So it's been challenging. I was going to school while pregnant, and I didn't stop to believe in myself and to think that I could do the things that I wanted to do. And with that, I also faced lots of domestic violence. First grade domestic violence, physical, financial, economic, psychosocial. But again, I told myself I wouldn't let it down, that I will help to find the space for women who are victims, especially of domestic violence, for their voices to be heard. Because it's not easy for them to break the silence. The issue of trust, policies put in place for them to be able to have assistance is very difficult. And I realized that there were no shelter homes, especially in my case and where I grew. We don't have shelter homes where you can run, go stay there, and then you have subvention. No. Your family and your parents will ask you to remain in that marriage because of shame. They will ask you to be there because they want to protect the family name. And they don't know the kind of pain that you go through with someone who is abusing you, someone who batters you daily, someone who will violate your rights and humiliate you and will not consider you her partner or even a sister or even a wife. It's so challenging, especially for African women who do not have where to go. And so with that, I was not ashamed to say my story because most of my friends and those who lived around me knew the story. And I decided to accept it, and I will tell my story first before anybody gets to me. Before you want to talk to me, I say, yes, that woman whose husband is beating, or the woman who is being beaten by her husband all the time, I say, yes, I am the one. But it has not changed me because I took the challenges as my stepping stone to be able to better up my life and to make a difference in the life of the man that I marry. I didn't get a divorce because I knew how to manage the situation. But there is an advice I will give anyone who is in that kind of situation, that if you cannot be able to resist, leave before you're killed. So I actually joined networks of women who were also survivors of domestic violence, where I got the coaching, and most of them stood by me. At this point, I want to recognize my very good friend, Heda, who is in Israel, who is also a victim of domestic violence. And she kept coaching me at the background. She kept telling me, put your documents in the bag and keep it in the corner. So the minute he starts, just get the bag and rush out. And then again, I was opportune to go to Israel for a course on violence against women and children, where I was also taught some tactics and techniques of protection. And I think that helped me to protect myself. And I give credit to the institution that actually gave me this support. So today I want to talk to women out there. I want to talk to young people who think that their lives have no value. But I tell them, your answer is within you. No one is going to help you. You got to look at whatever thing that is going to push you up, and then you grip it. Choose the right people, choose the right friends, choose the right institutions, and then make sure you speak out. Because if you do not speak out, the world will not understand what kind of value you have in there. I think from here, I will say that in my little corner, I have been able to give back to my community because I thought it was a social corporate responsibility. Working in the schools, I created a space for young people through the club activities which we had in the schools. And I created the gender, and I was part of the Commonwealth Club, where I actually mentored young people who are now advocates, young women advocates and young men advocates who can now stand on their feet to also talk on issues that concern them. And again, I will say that I got lots of success stories about those that I mentored because my program director of an organization which I created, Mother of Hope Cameroon, is one of my mentees. And she is there doing the work. And I give credit to every young person that has been able to pass through my work, and to say that there is nothing too small for you to contribute in your little corner. I think, Mercy, I'm going to maybe hold it at that end, and I will give you the floor for the next question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ada. Wow, this was at the same time heartwarming to hear your story, but at the same time also heartbreaking. Ada, to make sure that we are not having echo, when I'm talking, would you mind to mute your microphone? And we do it vice versa. Like when I finish talking, I will mute mine and let you talk. And when you finish, you can just mute yourself. Would you mind to mute your microphone?
It's done already.
Okay. So this was just wonderful to hear. It was wonderful to hear. You know, thank you. I'm a child so and my brother and sister were 6, and we came from a family of domestic violence. My mom went through this for over 25 years. And for African women, most of the time there is so much shame around this. Society that make the woman to feel like she's the one that is guilty. The family not being supportive. And it make it so hard for the women and the children going through that to come out of it. You spoke about so many things here, you know, and first of all, I really applaud you because you are breaking the taboo, which is to even speak up about this. Because so many women, whether it's African women or even around the globe, when they go through this kind of violence, they feel ashamed to talk about it. They hide it. And some even find excuse for the partner that is committing that violence. And let's not get it wrong. We are talking about, yes, domestic women going through domestic violence, but there is also the other flip side of some men going through domestic violence. We don't talk about it often, but it's a reality also. Before going even to our next question, because of everything that you just shared with us, you talk about some technique that you learn through your mentor on while you were going through domestic violence, like some tips that she gave you and some technique, like when she was telling you to have all your documents ready. Could you please share, if you wouldn't mind, some of the techniques and tips that you could give to women going through that? In case the situation, the domestic violence situation get escalated, what kind of technique and advice would you give them?
Thank you, Mercy. I will first of all want to congratulate and to applaud every woman or every man going through domestic violence, because it's not a very difficult, it's a very difficult situation. And unless you believe in yourself, you cannot come out of it. Because what happens is, the first thing is that you will get into deep depression and you'll find yourself lonely at every time. Every stage of your life, you find yourself very lonely. And sometimes you truly will not trust anyone again because you don't know who is the next person or who is going to be able to abuse you again. So there is loss of trust, there is isolation, and there is also a low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's low self-esteem. And so what I want to say is, the very first technique I will tell you, or tip I will give, is just every day when you look at yourself in the mirror, tell yourself, I am beautiful, I can make it. Because that was what I told myself every day. In tears, I will stand in front of that mirror and say, I am beautiful and I know I can make it. Yes. I am not useless. I am important and I must make it. So you have to assure yourself daily. The second is, you got to be able to have a get ready bag. A get ready bag will have your documents, some dresses, and some very important things which you think you want to carry along if it happens. It shouldn't be a big bag, and your husband shouldn't even know, or your abuser shouldn't know that that is the bag that you can pick at any time. It should be in a position where you can pick that bag at any time you find yourself in a very difficult situation. The third thing is, do not talk when he's talking. When he gets too aggressive, do not talk, but find a way of leaving the place. Don't fight back, because sometimes it may be catastrophic. The third thing is, you got to look for a safe space for those who are also being affected by domestic violence. Those who can share their stories and encourage you. Don't go after those who have not had the experience. They will not understand you. So create a safe space, and that space will help you grow out of the fear of facing your abuser. The fourth thing is, or the fifth, is, for me, I'm a Christian, and I put God first. And so I realized that I couldn't do it without my Jesus. So I prayed so much, and I joined the women's movement in my church. And so I got elderly women as mentors, women who had been in their marriages for long and who could be able to give me the advice. I got married young. At 20, I was engaged. 21, I was fully married, and I had my first daughter. So there were lots of things I didn't know. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to wash dresses well. I didn't know how to do so many things, because I'd spent my whole life in a boarding school. And after I left from the teachers training college, which I had 3 years on my own, it wasn't easy for me to adapt, because I didn't grow up in a home where there was a father, and there were certain things I didn't know. But my husband was not patient enough to allow me grow in the process and learn and institute the things that I want to do in the home as a woman. And so that is where I had the problem. He wanted a wife, a mother, a grown woman, but he had gotten a baby wife and was not patient to mentor her. So I got all the elderly women who were in the church who kind of coached, gave me lots of coaching at the background. If there was something that I didn't know how to do, I rushed to them. And I realized that they were good at keeping my secrets. I didn't make friends that would talk about what I was going through, but I made friends that would go with me through the pain and that would advise me and stand with me. And I realized that my husband was afraid of those elderly women, because when they come to the house, he will respect them and he will listen more and will get the advice from them. And then again, there is also a technique which I learned in Israel during my course, but that is also protective in terms of fighting techniques, where you should be able to, how you should be able to protect if he has to use violence on you, and which are the parts that you have to hit if you find yourself really stuck. And we're told to hit on the eyes, we're told to hit at the level of his penis, we're told to also, when you hit, you find your way out, because he'll be struggling to pick up again, and then you are gone. But that is when it becomes really, really, really tough, and you really cannot be able to survive. Then you can implement those techniques. I think those are the techniques that I use. And again, I developed the spirit of being humble and patient. Yeah. So I also tried to avoid moments and things that will make him angry. That was another thing. If I found him so angry, I wouldn't talk. I would allow him throughout until when he's quiet, Then I find my way and I go and speak. He began realizing that I was ignoring him, because sometimes he would say, you are ignoring me, you are ignoring me. And I'll say, no, I just want peace. You get it? And so I realized that he began to calm down. He began to calm down. And again, what actually made him change was because I learned a lot about the laws. Because at one point I couldn't take it and I told him I was going to fight for a divorce. I learned so much about the laws. I started getting closer to the courts to get what to do. And I told his family and I told my family that I was going to put him in prison. That I think at the time I'm matured enough and I know what is right for me. If he doesn't want the marriage, I'm ready to move out of it. For him to kill me because of that marriage, I surrender and I will leave. And he saw that I was really, really serious about it. And I think that was the day he stopped laying his hands on me. So that is a bit about the story. It has not been easy. It's not been an easy road. But what I did more was to occupy myself with reading. I read lots of books, lots of things, what women over the world were going through. And I realized that I was not the only person trapped in that situation. So I began growing the interest of talking and breaking the space. Because it's not always easy to talk the way I'm talking. It has taken me some time, and I have grown in the work that I'm doing. And I tell the women, what you're hiding is what will break you. So don't keep anything that anyone will use it to break you. Because people will always use the things that you don't want to hear about to fight you bad. But if you tell your story, no one will have anything to break you. And so that is what I've used in all these years. And I realized that in managing it, I had to go to school. So I created space to go to school while working. And I would say it's been easy. While working, I had to go to school to acquire the certificates which I have and the knowledge which I have, so that I can also be able to talk in spaces that are important. Because without education, there is no way you can be able to intervene and do the correction when necessary. So women have to go to school. Women have to be educated. They have to seek for knowledge. They have to break and invent the spaces that the main thing we cannot be able to get there because of other things. But again, something which I want to tell my fellow sisters who are in domestic violence, living in domestic violence situations is, do not forget about your kids. Because when you forget about the children, they become perpetrators. So you have to be able to take care of the kids, manage their anger, explain to them that their situation is never going to be like your own, and that they have a bright future, they have better options, and that you are going to be with them all to the end. Always explain to them, do not hide it from them. Because if they discover it, they will never trust you. But if they move along with you, they will protect you. And they will protect that family. That family is not going to break. Sometimes the children stand to say, this family will not break. Say, daddy, stop. Mommy, stop. And I got my little girl asking me the question, when you were choosing this husband of yours, did you ever think about us? And what is our problem in all these problems that you're creating? And I asked myself, it was time I created space for them in their house. They too have a say in their home. They need their calmness. They need to be loved. They need you. So create time for them and try to have them talk out with you so that they will not carry any vengeance, any violence within their minds and souls. I think that's the advice which I have for all the women out there.
Wow, Ada. You have no, wow, this is a very painful discussion, but it's a necessary discussion. You know, everything that you've been saying, it just took me back 30 years ago. You know, we think that my sister and my brother, we went to in our family, you know, when there was so many violence in my family, my dad toward my mom. And just like you said, you know, as children, Ada, would you mind to put your phone on mute, please? It's echoing again.
I have done that.
Okay. And like I said, many times, some of the things that you said, thank you. Some of the things that you said, like, you know, children also have a right to talk in their home, and make sure you as a parent who is being abused, that you communicate with the children, that you are transparent with them, because you just talk about your daughter, you know, so many times it happened with me, wondering like, why is my mom staying in this? Why do we have to go through this? To the point, like, believe me, when my mom finally has the strength to walk away from that marriage and to file for a divorce, we all stood by her, all 5 children, we stood by her. So thank you so much for, you know, being open and sharing what you share. Now, like I've explained to our viewers, today the theme that we are discussing about is the impact of women peace builders in English-speaking conflict-torn Cameroon. Many of our viewers are not familiar with Africa. Would you mind, Ada, to please tell us more about your country? Give us, please, a short geopolitical situation of Cameroon. Where is it located? And what is the reason of the conflict that your country is going through right now?
I'm actually not getting you, Mercy. I'm trying to get you. Are you getting me?
Yes, I can.
Getting me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Cameroon is, oh. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Cameroon is an African nation situated in Central Africa, and it has borders with Nigeria, with Mali, with Central Africa, with Equatorial Guinea, and it's a country above about more than 2 million, or 2 million per se for women, 2 million per se above for men. It's not very much populated as though, but it's the basket of Africa, in that its main source of income is agriculture, and it's noted for its agricultural value in Central Africa. It's a basket of Central Africa in terms of food. It's always recognized as the African in miniature, because you got everything you want to find in Africa, you'll find it in Cameroon. It's a country that has 2 languages, English and French, because of its colonial background. It was colonized by the British and the French. And so after they got their independence in 1960 for French Cameroon, 1961 for British Cameroon, they now decided to become a unitary state, and with 80% French speaking and 20% English speaking. It has 10 regions, and 2 of these regions are the English-speaking regions because it was colonized by the British. And so that is a little background about Cameroon. They are peace-loving people, they are jovial, they are kind, and they are also warm when you meet them. Um, Again, talking about the issues of the crisis, I just realized that in Africa, there's a lot of crisis, and it streams from bad governance. We face the same problem because of our origins. Our colonial roots have actually been able to influence the setting, the geopolitics of the place. And so we are battling between having peace, justice, equality, and good governance. That is the criteria that exists in Africa today. You can hardly hear an African country going through without crisis. And it is the order of the day. And Cameroon has not been left out, since Cameroon is surrounded by nations that are in conflict. You got conflict in Mali, you got conflict in Chad, you got conflict in Nigeria, you got conflict in Central Africa. And all this has influenced the borders of Cameroon. They've become porous, where we have lots of refugees rushing into Cameroon. We got refugees in the east of Cameroon. We have them in the north. We have some of them moving into the center. And they are everywhere in Cameroon. But the areas where they are found more, you got them in the north, you got also in the east. And when they come in, there is a conflict of interest between the refugees and the indigenes who live in those areas. And that has resulted to some of the crises which we have, especially the conflict that exists in the east of Cameroon. We also have conflict in the north of Cameroon, which is actually carried and perpetrated by Boko Haram. And that has ravaged the lives of lots of families. The economy has been affected by that, and lots of people have died. Now coming to the Northwest, Southwest is another phase of the crisis that began in 2016 with lots of political and social instability as a result of a change in certain policies to be able to effectuate the governance of the two speaking English regions. It started with the lawyers advocating for better rights, and also the teachers wanting better situations, and also getting more English teachers being recruited, lots of English culture being respected. And then it escalated into serious violence because there had been lots of I wouldn't say root cause, but lots of issues that were underlining before the crisis. Before the crisis, you had intertribal wars, you had discrimination, you also had farmer-grazer conflicts. And so there were lots of things which people were beginning to be fed up. We also had issues on bad governance, on tribalism, on corruption, on nepotism, all surrounding. And people had been stomaching and keeping all this pain. And I think there was no way for them to continue keeping their pain than moving to the streets. So we had lots of violence affecting the regions of the Northwest and Southwest, where I hail, because that's where I live. I'm actually talking to you now from the Northwest region. I have been able to move out, but again, I have come back because of conditions beyond my control. So the crisis in the region has affected women, children, husbands. Everyone has been affected financially, physically, emotionally, psychologically. Lots of homes burned, schools burned, markets burned, and most of the bulk of the crisis fall on women and children because they now live as internally displaced in the big cities of the country in very deplorable conditions. The crisis has been able to break down the educational structures, and lots of children are not able to go to school, and that has kept them vulnerable. And then you find lots of young girls getting pregnant, where I feel really, really bad because that is the domain where I intervene in terms of my work. As the founder of Mother of Hope Cameroon, an organization that works with women and young people, we have been working for the past 13 years in schools and communities. And we've educated over 15,000 young girls and women. And we've been able to work on issues on sexual reproductive health rights, issues on gender-based violence, issues on human rights, issues on peace and security, and again, on education. I think from the schools, we had the space to meet the young girls and the young boys to be able to exchange and to talk to them. But with the crisis, lots of schools were shut down. And so it's difficult to navigate in the other schools because I was working in 25 schools. Now we move to the communities. Most of the communities where we're intervening have now been devastated. Lots of people don't live in those communities again. And so some of them have been killed and they have now moved to other communities. I talk with a very heavy heart because I would say war is not a good thing. And we all live in fear. And there's no way we can be able to do the things that we want to do in a situation of instability. We are threatened, we are kidnapped, and there's a huge, huge phenomenon of fear surrounding our lives. And most of us who even come out to speak and to talk in relation to peace, we are being targeted. And they ask us not to talk about peace, but to talk about justice. It's such a rough road to tread on. But again, we understand that there cannot be peace without justice. But we just cannot be quiet as women, as mothers, as sisters that we are, to be able to talk to the known state actors who are our children, to the military and the government who are our children, that there is nothing that cannot be dialogued, cannot be talked on. There is nothing that we cannot be able to resolve if we don't have dialogue. We want justice, but there must be space for dialogue. We are talking that we should be able to look at what we're losing. We should look at the thousands of people who have been killed. Young girls are being raped. Children are kidnapped. People are, on a daily basis, we lose and we bury our family members. You get into a school, you shoot school children. You get into a home, you kill the father of the house. You kill lots of people just because you think your point counts. It's really pathetic. And so with the work that I've been doing in my organization, I didn't see myself as stopping at that level. I actually came along with a concept with other women and civil society actors, where we organized the first sit-down lamentation, where I headed that lamentation in 2018. And that lamentation was all about breaking the silence, engaging women into peaceful actions, bringing women to the forefront so that their voices will be heard. Because at the time of the crisis, when the crisis escalated in 2018, we were not talking because we were perplexed, we were overwhelmed by the so much that was happening around us. And there was the cry that women had the solution. And we were thinking on how we could be able to add our voices. And few of us got to the phase of engaging and wanting to see that a solution should be bridged so that we can be able to enjoy our wonderful country. We can be able to enjoy the rights that we need as mothers, as our children, that we have. So in 2018, after the lamentation, we had lots of women who came, about 400 women moved to the streets. It was done in the Northwest and it was done in the Southwest. And I think that was the rise of women's engagement into peace building actions. We now got lots of women engaging. In that process, I had the opportunity to be able to have support from the Canadian High Commission, where we trained and strengthened women's capacity on mediation and peace building techniques in countering violence, extremism in communities. And so 200 women were trained. We had another support on working with internally displaced women who were in Yaoundé, in Bafoussam, where they were trained
We lost you a little bit.
certain items, giving some business techniques on how businesses. And so this brought us to get 24 women and men who were victims of the crisis, where we took them to the capital, invited the diplomatic sectors representatives in Cameroon, invited government official and ministerial representatives, where the women shared their stories. And I think that is where they realized that there was need for the engagement of women in the peace process. After that, we also had the opportunity to be able to strengthen more women in techniques of mediation, where we now trained women on issues on Resolution 1325, issues on what mediation is all about, issues on conflict resolution, and also on protective mechanisms on how they could be part and solution givers during the crisis. And that, with the work that we're doing, we again got support from the women mediators across the Commonwealth, where I am a member from Cameroon. They gave us a small grant to be able to push that agenda, where we now created the Women Peace Builder Network, a network made up of over 24 women organizations. It's a baby network, but it's growing because they've been able to receive lots of training on how to be able to engage on issues on peace. And then we also want to take this opportunity to showcase our work and to talk about what is happening in the various regions where we find ourselves and how we can be able to add our voices at the base. These women leaders and front activists actually need a lot of support to push the work that they are doing. I think in a nutshell, I would tell you, there's a lot of pain in the ground. There's a lot of sorrow, which needs to be put or transformed into joy and happiness. We understand that there is crisis everywhere, but we are calling on the world to focus on Cameroon because lots of our children are being killed. And we are in a situation where we need lots of assistance in terms of material, financial, physical, psychosocial support. And again, with the eventual coming of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's made it worse. It's really made it worse. And in the course of our work, we realized that we could not work without us realizing that there was need for us to protect the internally displaced population by giving them protective equipment so that they could be able to also fight this pandemic that is ravaging the world. And so we distributed face masks, We also provided food to 21 displaced women in Yaoundé, 24 displaced women in Bafoussam, women and families. When we talk about women, we mean families. They had food during this period of COVID. It's not been easy, but we've been at the forefront. Of late, we also distributed food to 108 internally displaced families in Bamenda with the collaboration of the Bamenda 3 Council, because we work in collaboration with the council to carry out the activities that we carry on the ground. I think that is my little contribution in terms of peace issues in Cameroon. Mercy, over to you.
Wow. Ada, this was a deep conversation, a deep and painful conversation. You know, in preparing for this session, I did quite some, and this is some of the findings that I find regarding conflict-torn countries. Just like you've mentioned it, your country, Cameroon, all the surrounding countries in Cameroon. By the way, I'm from Mali originally, even though today I'm American. And Mali is a neighbor to your country. Over the past decade, an unprecedented number of global humanitarian crises have emerged or intensified, resulting in 131.7 million in need of humanitarian assistance. And this figure actually includes 68.5 million who have been forcibly displaced, including 25.4 million refugees. And the largest driver of this increased need is protracted armed conflicts, including mass displacement and gender-based violence. Women, youth, children are disproportionately impacted by conflict and crisis and deserve additional programmatic and policy consideration. Here are some of the figures. In Afghanistan, 6.5 million are in need. And this country of Afghanistan is approaching 40 years of continuous conflict. In Bangladesh, this country is hosting about 900,000 refugees. In Central African Republic, 2.9 million are in need. In DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, 13.1 million people are in need. 1.9 million people have been displaced since 2017. In Ethiopia, over 1 million people have been forced to be displaced in 2018. In Iraqi, 8.7 million are in need. Nigeria, 7.7 million people in need. Sudan, 5.1. I'm not going to lie to you, Ada. Preparing this interview, this live with you was very painful. To see that the most vulnerable population, which are children, women, and youth, are the most impacted by all those crises and war. And just having you speaking about the case of your country give a better perspective to understand that, you see, when we read those numbers, we see it as numbers, only numbers. But behind the number, you're talking about human. You're talking about women, children, girls that have been raped, that their life and their destiny are just temporary. And this is where, I would like to ask you, I believe a couple of weeks ago, you posted on your Facebook one of your certificates that you just acquired with, I believe, a U.S. embassy. And there was a lot of people commenting on your achievements. But one comment actually really brought my attention. It was someone who said, well, next time when you have this kind of opportunity, please share. And I really loved your answer. I don't remember quote to quote what you said, but you said, you know, you have to go look for opportunity. You have to seek for it. You have to ask for it. I love that because you see, especially as we women, this is something that is kind of like my fight and something that is dear to me, to really help we women to be our sister's keeper, to be able to congratulate a sister that is achieving, and to be humble enough to ask, can you help me also? I would like to know better, instead of thinking like, oh, you know, why is she the one to be promoted? Why is she the one to have opportunities? But today, on behalf of so many women, so many young girls, I would like to ask you, even though you are from Cameroon, could you share some of the tips on where we women can find resources, information, trainings, opportunities? You've talked about it earlier on when you said that, you know, by the end of the day, you came to understand that in order to bring peace and communion in our community, there is a strong and necessary need to bring women to the forefront, to engage women, to train them, to educate them. And I truly agree with you. I believe even though things look so gloomy, in the next 5 years, so many women are going to be at the forefront. And that is why today, even this leadership excellence for women by women that I created as a platform for women to come and speak about their experience, you know, and share who they are, what they've achieved, is also to help other women to prepare themselves, because in the next 5 years, we're going to be in power. We're going to bring the change that is needed. We're going to bring the peace that is needed in our different countries. And more than anything, we're going to come as women together from all over the globe to bring new change, new alignment, because we are mothers. We are carriers of life. And more than anything, we cannot take it anymore to see our children, our sons, our daughters, our husband, our father being killed. So Ada, please, I would like you to share with us today, for women listening to us, girls listening to us, even men listening to us, where do you think they can find opportunity for training? Because like I gave this number regarding crisis, more than ever, there is need for many of us to be trained in peace building. Where can we find this kind of training?
I think, Mercy, that's a beautiful question. And thank you so much for the deep analysis in terms of lots of internally displaced. I think in Cameroon, we already have more than 1 million people. We have more than 1 million. We're talking here about, in 2018, we had 6,000. And so we have lots of people who are displaced. And so it's important for need for humanitarian action to multiply. And women need to be able to come to the forefront to intervene, because they understand where the shoes pain. If women are not there, their voices are not on the ground, we cannot be able to achieve sustainable peace, which we want. We got lots of them at this place, but the women are stronger. Lots of them have lost their husbands, and the role of the man being the head has changed, shifts. I mean, family shifts, family rules have changed, where the women now carry out all the chores, they do everything for their families. They even bury their loved ones. The women are the forefront. And we cannot be able to engage without the women. The women need to be trained. The women need to understand why they should be able to engage. The women need to be there to give concrete solutions that will change policy. And education and training is very, very vital. So I'll begin first of all by, asking the women to craft what they want to do. There's a lot in terms of you engaging for peace. There's a lot for you wanting to get training. But what do you want? You need to be able to have an action plan. What do you need? Where do you get this information? That is very important. And what do you want to do with the information which you need? It's another question you should be asking yourself. The first thing is, look around your environment. Look around where you are, where you work. Who do you regard as a mentor? You got to go closer to make friends, to interact with those who already are in front, those who've been able to make it, for them to help you. You have to be submissive. You have to be polite. You have to be kind. You have to be humble. And in working towards these women, you must be ready to learn. If you want to learn, you have to be hardworking. If you're given assignments to do, you must do these assignments. You must create time to do the work that you have been called to do. Because we have lots of things in our hands, we tend to minimize. And so we only come at the leak of time where we cannot be able to fit. So that's the first thing I will tell you. The second thing is, you Google for opportunities. What is it that you want? If you go on Google search, you will find lots of opportunities on training, on what you want to do. Just put it in the Google box. Short courses for peace building. It will come out. You will have schools, like for me, when I Google, I see the UN peacekeeping short courses found in Ghana. There's another one found in Switzerland. Again, in Geneva, there's a lot of issues on peace in Geneva, in Switzerland, and you have these short courses being which come up. And there are also organizations that are engaged in working for peace. So just Google. When you Google, it will come out. And then what you do is send an email to these institutions to be able to try to start connecting with them. Some will respond, some will not respond. Again, I'll ask you to, first of all, get active on the ground. Write the reports about what you want to do and how you want to do them. Write your reports, take them to the nearest embassies that are found in the country. If you can be able to prove to them that you have some information, they will liaise with you. And then again, when you do that, you also have to be able to get to find out what the government of your country has been doing in terms of engaging on the ground. It means that women need to read the papers. They need to be on the air to listen to the news and also get to intervene in very important issues for their voices to be heard. I think at my little corner, that is what I'm able to share now. But if I find out any other resources, I will share them on my page. But there are lots of scholarship opportunities that are being shared on the internet and on many networks. Others is working in collaboration with other organizations. Try to liaise with them because there are lots of opportunities that are shared in the network meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada. Thank you so much, Ada, for being so open and willing to share this information. You know, my mentor, Prophetess Mwaka, she's based here in the United States. She's a lawyer by profession, but with God calling, she's now full-time into ministry. And now God is calling her into government. So she's running for a seat, I believe, in her country. And I think 2 days ago, a couple of days ago, she posted on her page that she had a meeting with the youth of the community where she's, posting for a seat. And one thing that she said was a youth talking about all the need that they graduate from school, they have business idea, they want to be financed. And my reply to her post was like, this is great, that we have so many youth being graduated, but what if many of those so-called youth that are graduated are not willing to go the extra mile? They just want a handout all the time. Those having business idea, they're expecting others to just come up with all the money that they need to start their businesses instead of being proactive. Just like you said, today with internet, you have so many information available. If you are willing to take the time to look for the information, to educate yourself, to go and then, question. And like you said earlier on, be humble when you ask it. Not only humble, be willing also to put the effort into it. Because today we have you on the platform today. Somebody might see you and say, wow, this is an accomplished lady. But you started from ground zero with nothing. And you are humble enough to recognize that, wow, I'm lacking things. And this is something also that I would like to add. For many of us to be willing also to do a self-assessment and acknowledge your weakness. Many of us are just so proud that we think like we know it all. We know it all. And we are in a world that today, with arrogance and a know-it-all attitude, you won't go far. Now, I would like to take us to we are almost toward the end of this session, but I believe a couple of weeks ago, when you and we finally talked, we've been friends on Facebook for many years, and I've been following you, watching what you've been doing, until a few weeks ago, when I realized, wow, I need to bring Ada to the forefront so that, we can hear what you are doing. And during that conversation that we had for the first time, you were very open with me, and you spoke to me about, because my first thing was like, wow, what brought you to do all of this? And you spoke to me about the young girls, that all of this, today you are where you are because of what you've observed in your surrounding. Many young girls in your community being forced to prostitute themselves to obtain money to buy monthly menstrual pad. Can you please tell us exactly more about that?
Thank you, Mercy. I think for me, that's a very interesting topic, because as a woman that I am and that you are, you understand the challenges that adolescents go through during their menstrual periods. And there's a lot of things they don't know, and we need to be able to educate them on how to manage their bodies. There's always there's always the blame game when this teenage girl becomes pregnant, and no one knows how and why they get into such risky sexual acts without any support, without us knowing the reasons behind. We'll keep blaming the young girls. And I keep saying that it's important for you to go closer to them and break the space, talk with them. Because if we don't talk with them, they will be worse than what we are today. So while teaching in the schools, I had the opportunity to meet lots of young girls. And I realized that the very first thing was they didn't know how to calculate their menstrual cycles. Adolescents between the ages of 11 to 18 are getting pregnant every day, not because they want to get pregnant, but because they don't know how to manage their bodies. They don't know how to calculate their menstrual cycles. They don't even understand what this menstruation is all about. Because if they understand it, they will not be pregnant. Because in the course of getting pregnant, most of them get into risky ventures, crude abortions, and they die in wanting to terminate those pregnancies. Some of them have lost their wombs and they've been infected because they want to do away with these teenage pregnancies. And some of them have lost their lives because they want to do away with these teenage pregnancies. And I asked myself, what is it that we can do to help these girls get out of the risk of not getting fully educated? Because most of them drop because of the babies that they have. They have to come back and take care of their babies and not finish school. Some of them don't have the ability to purchase sanitary pads, and they are infected and they grow older and they have very complicated situations in the future and they can't bear children. Some of them have gotten involved into several and risky abortions because they want to find a life of living in a world that castigates, that denies women to be able to understand their bodies and talk about it. Menstruation is woman. It is procreation. Without menstruation, we wouldn't have the children that we have. But we have to talk with the men, the young boys that engage the young girls in the act because they don't do it alone. We are talking here about sexual rights. We are talking here about menstrual rights. We are talking about body rights, which engages engages the men, the young boys, and the young girls. They are all part of this process. So I want to talk about the work that my organization has been doing. For the past 13 years, we've been moving in schools, distributing sanitary pads to young girls. Why have we been distributing? Because most of the girls cannot be able to afford these pads, and they use lots of things which are not healthy for their bodies. Some of them use racks, they use torn dresses, they use foams like dirty mattresses which they cut to use. They use leaves, they use grass, they use lots of things for them to manage themselves during menstruation. And it will be very strange for you to understand that in the 20th and 21st century, you will find young girls who have never actually seen a sanitary pad. In a village in Widukum where I went there and I was distributing this pad, I remember this young girl coming and asking me, "Ma, what should I do with this thing?" And I asked her, "What do you use for menstruation?" She turned around and looked at me and she said she used her old pants. I said, "Wow, you've never used this?" She said, "Yes." And I told her it was part, and I educated her and I encouraged her how to use it and that she should not use the old pants again. And let me tell you something. That very young girl, I met that young girl 3 weeks ago without knowing that it was the girl which I met in 2015 in Widukum. And I met her when I was distributing food for internally displaced families that were living in Bamenda at the council. She actually identified me. And when I moved at the corner, she came closer to me and told me, "Ma, can you remember me?" I said, "No. You gave me sanitary pads in Widukum." Then I asked her, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I've been displaced by the crisis. I now live in a village in Mubang and I'm married with 2 children. Because of the crisis, situations of menstruation have become worse. Girls are being raped. They cannot be able to manage themselves because they do not have sanitary pads. Girls are being raped because they're going to carry water far away. because they need maybe to work in the house to do, they can't manage their bodies because they cannot be able to afford and to know how to manage their bodies. They get pregnant. We also have lots of young people getting into prostitution because they want money, meager money, to buy sanitary pads, which is a disgrace for some of us to see that they cannot achieve it. They are in the streets. And what can we do to support them? What we do is that we stitch the pads and we go to the hard areas, areas where we know that they really need it, and we distribute for free. What we need is support to produce these pads, to give it to girls who are in school, who have been affected by the crisis, and they don't even have money to purchase pads because the main priorities of their parents is food and not pads. Most of them manage their bodies by themselves, and nobody cares about their bodies, but they care about food for them. There is no money for school fees. There is no money for food. And so their parents will not talk about sanitary pads. They will think about their well-being in terms of their education and feeding. So women need your support. The young girls need your support for them to manage their bodies. So in that regard, we came out with the production of sanitary pads with collaboration with a Cameroonian organization that does the production, and we are learning. So that organization is CamePad, and they produced reusable pads, sanitary pads, like you can see on the screen. It's well stitched and it can be used for 3 years. And in a pack, we have 3 of them. Those with the lighter flow can use it. And when the flow, you can use it when the flow increases to be able to use so that it stays you and you're comfortable. Reused rather than the other parts that we have that are used once and are expensive for the women to manage. We encourage women to use the reusable parts so that they can be able to manage themselves. They can remain healthy. They can stop being prostitutes. They can stop being not dying because of crude abortions. They also can be able to get to the level where we want them to get there as women that can sit on the table and change the laws and change their society and also make useful contribution for development wherever they are. So that is my contribution in terms of engaging a little activity for women and their bodies. It's all about their sexual health. It's all about their body rights, and which is vital for us, especially young girls living in fragile communities. Thank you. Especially young girls living in fragile communities.
Thank you. Wow, Ada. You know, that day when I had the conversation with you, I was driving when you called me because the connection was bad. And when you called me, I just had to pull over and park the car so I could pick up the call. And I remember when you told me about those young girls having to prostitute themselves to get money to buy menstrual pad. You know, when I finished talking with you, I just sat in the car and I was like, wow, we take so many things for granted. I live in the US, and you can go to a dollar store and get a pad, a pad for $1, and you will have multiple pads inside, a package. And I'm like, wow, something that is costing $1 here will cost another girl in a different setting to sell her body in order for her to buy that. I am the type, I believe in giving. I believe in helping, especially when it's for situation like this. And today I would like to make a call to our viewers. I remember after we finished talking, I texted you and I asked you, Ada, how much pad? And the question that I had for you also was like, oh, are those like one-time use? You explained to me, no, because those girls are so poor. You guys needed to actually, make reusable pads so that they can have it for at least 3 years, so that those girls wouldn't have to go back into prostitution next month in order to get money to buy for pad again. And I love the concept. That's why I asked you today to bring a sample of those pads. I believe you told me that those pads cost in Cameroonian currency 3,500 of Cameroonian money. And I went ahead and checked those, a pad, exactly, thank you for showing to us. A package of 3 pads costs 3,500 Cameroon money, which is equivalent to roughly $7 American money. So today, to our viewers, especially to my sisters, my mothers that are watching, I would like to make a call to your hearts. Please think of yourself like I did that day. Think of your daughter, if you have a daughter, even a sister, a niece, who is privileged to be in a good setting, a good home, where she can easily have access to those pads. But what about those girls in Cameroon having to prostitute themselves? I would like today to speak to your hearts, my viewers, even the men that are following us. And it doesn't matter if you live in America or in different countries. I would like to make a call today for you to give toward this project that Ada has to make pad to distribute freely to those girls. I've done some breaking down of the cost. Since 3,500 of Cameroon money will be roughly $7 US currency. If you give today, my beautiful sister that is watching, my great man of valor that is watching, if you give, for instance, $25, that will help 3 girls to have pad for 3 years. A donation of $50 will be pad for 7 girls. $100 will help 14 girls. $200 will go toward 28 girls pad. And $500 will go toward 71 pack of pad for 21 girls in Cameroon. Would you please think of this? I will ask Ada to share her the bank information of her organization, so that you will have an opportunity to directly send her your contribution. Especially, Ada, and this is my last question for you. I know that very soon this month, we are having World Menstrual Hygiene Day on May 28th. How do your organization plan to celebrate? And what would you like to ask from the viewers? How can they contribute? Back to you, Ada.
Thank you, Mercy. I think that's a pertinent question. And as an organization that celebrates the International Day of Menstruation, which is the 28th of May, we do that yearly. How do we want to celebrate this year? We want to be able to reach out to a maximum of about 3,000 girls, 3,000 to 4,000 girls, to share sanitary pads, to give them hope and joy in this moment of the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest. To be able to keep a girl at school, contribute for a pad. Just a pad for 3,500 francs, which is about $7, will make a difference for a young girl in crisis who wants to achieve education. It is challenging for them to stay in school without this basic necessity. We are calling on all those who want to be able to be part of this celebration to help us donate so that we can be able to reach out to these girls because we work with them daily. Again, we want to be able to talk to, again, to all those who will be online because we'll have a Zoom call with 4 adolescents who want to be able to share their experience, which will be done on Facebook Live. And that will be coordinated by the young people of our organization. They will be there to share what they do in terms of their work and how to be able to engage more young girls in a program which we call the Girls Change Leaders. Because we believe that as women, we must begin somewhere. We are mentoring young girls to become the change that they want to become tomorrow, to become leaders that they want to become tomorrow. And this begins now. And so we'll have a panel discussion with 4 young girls sharing their experience online and also receiving questions from their peers. We'll also be distributing sanitary pads and also sanitary kits to very, very vulnerable girls in schools. And we're working towards that again to see if we can be able to get these girls together. And also we'll have a garden space conversation with 20 young girls and 20 young boys to share their experience in terms of how they manage their body and their sexual rights. What is it that they need from us as parents, as mentors, as guardians, and what should be done in order to create a safe space for young people who are in difficulties. I think that is a rundown of a program which we're planning to do. We're actually working on it. But again, it will be coordinated by the program director of Mother of Hope. And that is a challenge I'm giving her. I am actually doing the fundraising to get the parts so that the young people can take the space. When you train them, give them the space to carry out their actions. And I don't know the kind of style that they want this activity to be carried, but that is going to be run by the youth that are part of the organization. And they will be engaging other youths for them to better tell their stories. So that is what we are planning to do. And we are hoping to commemorate with every other organization in the world and to be part of the fight for equality, leaving no one behind and engaging all girls that are victims of sexual violence. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can perfectly hear you. Thank you so much, Ada. And again, to our viewers, yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Again, to our viewers, Ada will be sharing the bank account information of her organization. The goal is to provide pad for 3,000 girls by May 28, which is the International Hygiene Pad Day. And we really hope that you will be touched as a woman, as a sister, as a mother. Some of us, we can easily even spend those $50 with just going out for a lunch. Wouldn't you think of those girls and be touched today and help out? We will make sure to have the bank information provided to you. And I really hope that you've been blessed with this session today. Ada, we would really like to thank you. Thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule. Thank you for being such a great leader. Thank you for being that kind of African woman that is bold, that is taking her pain, her scar, and is not scared, is not afraid, is not ashamed to show her scar and to say to the world, yes, have scar, but my scar is what is helping me to build up other women. My scar is what is making me today to be the woman that I am. My scar is what is making me to be the leader that I am. And my scar is not a cause of shame for me, but a catalyst to help me go for, over and over toward my destiny. Thank you for being that African leader. Thank you for being that mother to so many. You make me proud to be African. Thank you for what you do. Oh, we can't hear you, Ada. We would love to hear your last word. We can't hear you. Ada, I think you are on mute. We still cannot hear you. Oh. Okay, now you are back. No, we are not hearing you. So unfortunate, we cannot hear you. No, we still cannot hear you. Still no sound. It's so unfortunate. We still cannot hear it. No. Still no voice, no sound. Technology sometimes just add its own way of things. We would have loved to have a last word from Ada, but I believe we touch on the most important information that we needed today. So I would have Ada actually share bank information of her organization for those of us who would like to contribute toward their goal of providing pad for 3,000 girls by May 28th. Thank you so much.